Yep. Good morning, everyone. So, last session we discussed about how do we set up an environment for TypeScript. So, we learned what is TypeScript and features of TypeScript, and we discussed about TypeScript architecture, how TypeScript works, and how to set up TypeScript. We discussed about what is tsconfig.json, which is important for TypeScript when you are using TypeScript in a project. So what is this tsconfig.json? It sets the rules and settings for TypeScript when it is used in a project. TypeScript rules means which version JavaScript it should translate, and which module system it should use, what rules it should follow for TypeScript. All such settings are defined in this file. So TypeScript configuration file is this. And we discussed how TypeScript works, the compiler, core compilers and all. Now today we are going to learn TypeScript language. We are going to discuss about TypeScript language. So yesterday we created one project where we enabled TypeScript, and how to create a TypeScript file I showed you. How to transcompile also we learned. Now actually we use TypeScript and transcompile into JavaScript, and we link JavaScript into HTML. But while learning language, I am not using any HTML. So we will use TypeScript. We will learn all the language in command line only. Command line is CLI. So all the language, once we are perfect, then we can implement in React. React anyhow uses in UI, user interface. So generally, how to translate TypeScript, yesterday I showed you. We need a TSC. TSC is a TypeScript transcompiler. It is a TypeScript transcompiler which will translate TypeScript program into JavaScript. And JavaScript we can use in HTML, or directly you can compile JavaScript using Node compiler. By using Node compiler, you can compile JavaScript, that is node index.what.js. Before that, how to translate? TSC index.what.ts. For TypeScript files, we have to use index TSC. For JavaScript files to run, we have to use Node. So this is the basic what we learned yesterday. Now, what is difference in TypeScript language and JavaScript language? We are going to learn that. So mandatory perfect knowledge of JavaScript is required for TypeScript. We are not learning everything because already we know JavaScript, just we need to know comparison. In JavaScript, how we write. In TypeScript, how we write. What is new in TypeScript we need to learn. So in the TypeScript language, the first important concept is variables. Variables and data types. Variables and data types. In JavaScript already you learned. What I am explaining is what is difference in JavaScript and in TypeScript. So what we discussed about TypeScript language, TypeScript is strongly typed and TypeScript is strictly typed. It is strictly typed and strongly typed. So in JavaScript, when you declare variable, what are the keywords you use for variables? Variables are declared and initialized by using three keywords, no? Var, let, and const. All the three are same here. There is no change. That means TypeScript uses same keywords for declaring variables, var, let, and const. So variable naming rules are same as in JavaScript. So there is no change in variable naming rules. Var, let, constant rules also same. There is no change. You learned what is difference between var and let and const. Already you'll know that. So I'm not explaining anything there. So the keywords are same, their differences are same. So the rules of naming a variable is same. There is no change. But what is new is TypeScript is a strongly typed language. Hence, every variable requires a data type. Every variable requires a data type to configure. It is a strongly typed language, so every variable requires a data type to configure. That is important. And means what syntactically? Let, variable name, and colon, data type. We have to use colon. So that is how we need to configure. We need to set the data type for the variable. What is new in TypeScript is variables must be configured with data type. And if data type is not defined, then the default type is any. If data type is not defined, then default type is any. So actually, the type any is root for all data types. It is the root for all data types. If you don't mention any data type for a variable, then automatically the variable data type is considered as any type. Any is the root type for all data types. And important is your data types are same. There is no change in data type also. What are the data types? In JavaScript, primitive types, non-primitive types, the same are used here also. What are primitive types? Number, boolean, string, null, undefined, symbol. These are all the data types, primitive types. And the same is used here also. So the same is defined here. The primitive types are non-primitive types. Actually, here syntactically, if we define let So we defined let age, and I'm not mentioning any data type. Then by default, age is taken as, any type. It will apply any as type. So any type means you can store any kind of value, any type of value. Here so many points are there, I will explain. First, the variable declaration keywords are same, variable naming is same, only one extra point here is data type. You have to mention the data type. If data type is not mentioned, default type is considered as what? Any type it is considered. And here the data type for variable can be primitive type, actually can be JavaScript primitive type or non-primitive type. Can be JavaScript primitive type or non-primitive type. So JavaScript primitive data types. So we have a number, we have Boolean, we have string, we have null, we have undefined, we have symbol, and we have a big int. These are the JavaScript data types that you learned in JavaScript. These are all JavaScript primitive types. Already in React also I showed you them, how to handle them. So these are the JavaScript primitive types. What is advantage of our TypeScript is, once you define the type, it will not allow any another type. So here I am not explaining what are these. Already we know what are these. So we don't waste time in again discussing them. So let some user name is a string. That's how we declare the variable. And you know you can initialize a string into it. And you know how to initialize a string. String can be double quote, single quote, backtick, anything is same. So let age, this is a number. So we define some numeric value. And we know number can be signed, unsigned, floating, double, decimal, anything is number. All are considered as number. Now let, suppose I defined some subscribed, it is a Boolean. Boolean can be true or false. So we can configure the data types. We can define the data type. And already you know the other types, null type and undefined type, symbol type, begin type. How you define the data types for variables in TypeScript is this. All data types you already know, just we need to know how to declare them. So what is new? Another concept here is, see, let's go to our project. This is TypeScript. Now, yesterday we created a TypeScript file. It is always important to write the code in the TypeScript transcompile into JavaScript. For your understanding sake, I will compile and run in a separate window. You can run in the terminal also directly. I'm using separate command prompt. You can run in terminal. Just to show you on a separate screen, I'm using it. First, how do we define here? We are creating a simple variable let, some username, and it is a string type is equal to some value. That's how we need to configure. Suppose I declared a variable age. I am not mentioning the data type. Then automatically it becomes any type. Default is any. Default is configured as any. Suppose I mentioned age as a number type. Then what is the point? Later, while assigning into age, I try to assign a string, it will not take. Because age is what? String not assignable because its type is number. But in JavaScript, we don't have this. It will assign string. There is no restriction, but now it is better. Another important point is here, we can initialize, we can assign, we can use anything. Another important point is one specialty about this data types in TypeScript is TypeScript supports type inference. Type inference. TypeScript supports type inference. So it is an important interview term. What is type inference? What is the concept of type inference is nothing but the data type, the data type, the data type of variable can be configured according to the value initialized. The data type for variable can be configured according to the value initialized. That means what is the point here? You are declaring let age is equal to some 22. I am not defining data type. I am just writing like JavaScript. But now automatically age becomes a number. And later into the age you try to store some string, it is invalid. It will not allow. That means even you don't mention the data type, it will take the data type. Remember, the data type is taken only when it is initialized with some value. You know, initializing, assignment, and shadowing and all we learned in JavaScript. So if you initialize a value into a variable, then you don't need to mention data type. It will consider the type according to value. It will consider the data type as what type? Number. According to value, it will mention the type and it fix the type. You will not be allowed to handle another data type into that reference. That means you will see in TypeScript, I told you in TypeScript, when you declare a variable, the data type mentioning is compulsory. But you will see in many places when people are using TypeScript, they don't mention data type. Then you will be surprised like why data type is not mentioned in TypeScript. I learned that data type is mentioned in TypeScript. But why they are not mentioning data type? Because they might already initialize a value. If they already initialized a value, they don't need to mention type because the initialized value type will be taken by variable and it will fix to that type. it will not allow any another type. So what is the meaning here? Even if I don't mention the data type as number, you just put 22, then automatically age becomes a number. And later into the age you are trying to store some other value, it will not allow. It will not allow. This mechanism is called type inference. That means in TypeScript, you will see many people not writing data type. Then that is not a surprise. Why? Because they are not writing data type means they might have initialized value. If they don't mention data type, by default, it will take which type? Any. But if once they initialize value, it will fix to that type. It will not allow any another type. This mechanism is called as what? Type inference. It is called type inference. So JavaScript will not support any data types, will not restrict data types, but TypeScript allows data type. And while working with data type, one important concept is what? Type inference. Type inference. Another concept is there. Another important is TypeScript supports, it supports union of types. TypeScript supports union of types. This is also very important while working with data types. It supports union of types and it is very much required also. Union of type is nothing but, so union of type is nothing but it allows to configure multiple types for a variable. It allows to configure multiple types for a variable. You can define multiple types for a variable. That means what you can do, we can use let, we can use x, it is a number, it is a string, it is a boolean. Like this, we can configure multiple types. A pipe symbol is used for union of types. You can mention 2 or 3 or 4, anything. That means what is the meaning now? The meaning is X can handle a number, it can handle a string, or it can handle a boolean. That means all are valid. Into X you send 10, it is valid. Into X you send A, it is valid. Into X you send true, it is valid. All are valid. That means suppose if I don't give boolean, I am giving only number and a string, then obviously this is what? Invalid. It will allow number and string. Now you may have a doubt like why I need this. So in JavaScript, you have to come across with this very regularly. Because for example, you know, in JavaScript, why you need that? For example, you know, in JavaScript, you learned prompt. What a prompt will return? What a prompt will return in JavaScript? You learned JavaScript. In JavaScript, what a prompt will return? Do you know prompt will return an empty string? It will return a string empty or with value if there is some value. If you don't provide any value and click OK, it will take empty string. If you provide a value, it will return the value in the form of string. If you click cancel, it will return null. That means now what prompt data type? What is the prompt data type? If I say string, it is invalid. Why? Because it may be null also. That means prompt handles two types. One null type, another one is string type. On OK, it will return string. On cancel, it will return null. For example, you are using a confirm. Confirm is boolean. On OK, it will return true. On cancel, it will return false. But prompt is returning two types. Then in this case, what happens? You return let username and you are writing a string and you are using a prompt and we say enter name. Am I right? Then it shows obviously error. Why it says error? Because it says that I am not expecting only string every time. I am expecting a null also. Then if I write data type as null, it is again error because it is not expecting only null. It is expecting string. Then how do you mention a value in a variable that can handle multiple types? You have to use a union here. Union with what? Null. Now it is valid because we are expecting two value types from that particular prompt. This is very common actually. You know, generally in your HTML, JavaScript, when you design a form, from a form you input any value, it is string type. From text box or drop down from anywhere, when you input a value, it is what type? String. And you want to do some calculation, then the string need to be converted into number, parse. So initially it takes a string, later it converts into a number. That means we need a variable which can take a string and can handle a number also. It can manage both. Then how you define? By using union. So union of types is very much important. So you can handle multiple. Here actually example is suppose let username, it is a string or a null and is equal to prompt. Why we are doing this? Because prompt returns string or null. It returns string or null. That is the reason you need to mention with the union of types. The union can be 2 or 3 or many, any type it can be. So when you are dealing with certain elements in HTML and all, we have to manage multiple types. So this is about the data types. So what is new in TypeScript is when you declare a variable, you have to mention the data type. You can have union of types and it supports type inference. That means you don't need to write the type, just initialize some value. It can handle only that particular type of value. If you don't initialize, what is the default type? Any. Any is the root type. It allows to store any kind of value. That is the reason TypeScript is superset to JavaScript. All JavaScript like functions work as it is. And it has its own abilities also. We can utilize both of them, right? Next, important, these are primitive types. So what is change in the primitive type? I explained. What is change, how to declare. Non-primitive types, little different. Some more points are there about non-primitive types. Now let's see here how to handle non-primitive types. So TypeScript non-primitive types. How do we handle the non-primitive types? So primitive types are very simple. There is no complexity. That is nothing new here. Only data type with union is important. But one more concept you should remember actually. Remember, so if you declare anything, so string is different and the string is different. Both are different. So make sure that you are using the lowercase string, not an uppercase string. In JavaScript, you have both. What is this lowercase string? It is data type. Type. What is this uppercase string? It is a class. String class. You know, string class have string methods. You also have a number. You have a number lowercase, number uppercase. So make sure that data types all are lowercase, not uppercase. This is a number constructor, number class constructor, string class constructor. They are required for handling numbers, handling strings, not for declaring numbers and strings. Declaring numbers and strings are done with types. Handling numbers and strings are done by using the string classes, number classes. So you should be very careful while writing the type. It is not uppercase number. In interviews also they give this. What is difference between string and string? So one for configuring the type, another for handling the type. So lowercase is configuring the type and uppercase is handling the type. String handling means string related lot of methods are managed through this object. That is a string object actually, not string type, right? So what are non-primitive types and how to handle non-primitive types? Again, I don't need to explain what are non-primitive types. I need to explain the difference here, right? First important, array type. What is array? How array works? Those are all not the points now to learn. We already know them. Here in TypeScript, what is the specialty is actually in JavaScript, array can handle any type of value. Array can manage any kind of value. But here in TypeScript array can be configured for similar data types. Similar data types can be configured for similar data types. It can also handle various types like JavaScript. It have both behaviors. TypeScript array can be configured for similar data types and it can also handle various types like JavaScript. So that means how you configure array. Syntactically, let sales is a number type array. That is how we declare. And you know how to allocate memory. How do we allocate memory? By using new array constructor, or we have to use names. It is a string type array, and by using an array constructor, and by using meta character. You know, in JavaScript we declare both. And you know the difference also. One dynamic memory, another one static. So what is the problem in your JavaScript is JavaScript array can handle any type of value. But here we can use, like other languages, we can restrict array to same type. If I say number, it will be only number, string only string. And it can work as JavaScript also. How it can handle any type value, let values, any type array. If you mention any type array, obviously it is like JavaScript now. Means it can handle one number, one string, one boolean. You can restrict to same type or you can restrict to different types. You can define different types. So it works like both JavaScript and this. And obviously, you know the difference between array constructor and array meta character. What is the difference? This allocates a dynamic memory. This allocates an static memory. Not only that, in TypeScript, you have another difference. Another important difference is there in TypeScript. What is the difference in TypeScript is actually array constructor will not allow to initialize various data types even when the type is configured as any. Array constructor will not allow to initialize various data types even when the data type is configured as any. So it uses the first value type as data type. It uses the first value type as data type. This is very important to understand. So arrays need to be configured with a meta character to handle many values. You have to define like this. So actually, see here, I am configuring let. Suppose values. Values is a number type array. Then memory is allocated. Here you say 10 and you say A. A is invalid because you said number, you can handle only number. Now what I am doing here, I am making the data type as what type? Any. You see it is allowing to initialize 10. It is working fine. It is allowing to initialize string. It is also working fine. True, that is also working fine. Because any means it will allow all types. But constructor will not allow. New array is a constructor. Into the constructor, I am passing 10. When I pass 10, what is the first data type? Number. Then if I try to store a string, it is not allowed. Even when the data type is any, it will not allow the type. It will allow only first value type. First value type is what? Number. So all must be numbers only. For example, first value type is string, then number is not allowed. Then all must be string only. That is one important point about arrays in TypeScript. So that is one difference between meta character and constructor. But remember what I given in the definition? What I given the definition? Array constructor will allow to initialize will allow to initialize different same type even when the data type is any. Remember the word initialize. This rule is only for initialization, not for assignment. This rule is only for initialization, not for assignment. For example, now I am not initializing into values of 0. I am assigning 10. So what is the first type? Number type. Values of 1 is A. It is okay. Values of 2 is true. That is okay. That is okay. That means only initializing is not allowed. Assignment is allowed. So that is the definition I given there. That means array constructor will not allow to initialize different types even when the data type is any, but it will allow to assign. It will allow to assign. So array constructor, so it will array constructor will allow to assign various data types. Will allow to assign various data types. You cannot initialize, but you can assign. And allows to assign various types when data type is any. When data type is any. So here lot of important things are there. Values, any type array is equal to new array in that 10 in that A. So here invalid. Only numbers allowed. Because the first type is number, only numbers allowed. But you have let values any type array into new array, and into values of 0 you have 10. Values of 0, 1 is A, all are allowed. 2 is true, this is allowed. These are all valid. These are all valid. These are all valid. There is no problem in that. Only initialization is not allowed. Assignment is allowed. Now, actually, array meta character is square brace, allows initialization and assignment both. It allows initialization and assignment of various types when data type is configured as what type? Any. It is configured as any. And if array allows initialization and assignment of different types, if a collection allows initialization and assignment of various types, then it is known as tuple. Then we call it as a tuple. Tuple is a collection which allows initialization of different values, assignment of different values. Now tell me how to declare a tuple. Let values, what type? Any type array, and memory should be with meta character. If memory is with array constructor, it is not a tuple. Array should be with meta. factor only. Is because if you give array constructor, it will not allow to initialize different value. A tuple is a collection which allows to initialize and assign different types of values. Initialize and assign different type of values. So that is important. Initialization and assignment of various types. Now here one more concept is actually array supports union of types. Array supports union of types. It will support union of types. But again, one restriction is that array supports union of types means can you declare an array in such a way that it can handle only two types or three types? It will not allow all, right? For example, you see now here, I am configuring values is an array of string type and it is a number type. It is a number type array. That's fine. That means it is a union of two types. One is number, another one string. What does it means? It can handle both numbers and string. But again, problem is that it can allow to assign number and string, but not initialize. It allows to initialize only one type. You can initialize only numbers or only string, but you cannot initialize both. But you can assign both. That means you declare a union of array means it allows to assign the union of both types. It will not allow to initialize. You cannot initialize. Even you use meta character. That means what is this now? I am storing a number and a string is not allowed. It shows an error saying that not assignable. Suppose I am using a string, another string, that's okay. And a number, again not allowed. Either all strings or all numbers. But I am not initializing. Values of 0 is 10. Values of 1 is A. Now it is okay. You can assign 2. Values of 2 is true. That is not okay. Why? It allows only number and string. So it is allowing union, but only for assignment of union, not initialization. So union have one more restriction here. It supports union of types only for assignment, not for initialization. Not for initialization. Only for assignment, not for initialization. So LET values of string type, number type is equal to array. So here you can have values of 0 is 10, Values of 1 is A, that is fine. All are valid. Values of 2 is 20, all are valid. There is no problem. That is one syntax. If you try to define another one like this, let values of string and values of number is equal to 10a, like this you define, this is invalid. That's invalid. Either all must be string or all must be number. Assignment is allowed, initialization is not allowed. And you know already array memory allocation is compulsory. This is the memory allocation. Huh? You can initialize or you can assign. Without memory allocation, you try to store some values into it, it will not allow. It will not allow to do that. Right. So array supports union of types, but only for assignment of union of types. Right. These are all related to array. What about array manipulation? All array methods are same as in JavaScript. There is no change in that. All array methods are same as in JavaScript. So what are array methods? Push, pop, splice, slice, map, for each, all are same. Index of, last index of, everything same. How you manage the array? All array methods, string methods, number methods, parsing methods, all are same. There is no change. That means how you deal with this. You are having values of 2. This is like 20. Values of 3. This is like B. And what we do, values dot what? Map. So we read every value and what we do, console dot log. And what is it? Value. Now the key point here is actually, remember we are learning TypeScript and we are using TypeScript only from command line. Our intention is not to watch in any browser. So what you have to do is you have to avoid using DOM methods. You avoid using DOM methods. Don't use any DOM methods. Means what? Alert, prompt, document.write. These all will not work here. Why? Because we are running the JavaScript programs from command line. In command line, alert, prompt will not be there. They are all related to window object. Na? So here you have to use only console methods. Only console methods. Right? Because we are running from command line and verifying them. Okay. So I will copy this or run this. First, what we have to do, TSC. What is the file name? Index.ts. After that, the code is generated into JavaScript. We have to run index.js. Then it will run that and it will show. That means all array methods are same, right? So how do you write the program and how do we compile and run? That is the basic thing. Copy this and here. This is an example. Now very important is never go to the JavaScript file and try to see the code it generated. It is time waste. You can't understand. That means what is the point? The code is converted into JavaScript. I will go to JavaScript. In JavaScript, you will see it is looking like ordinary JavaScript only. There is no data types. There is nothing mentioned there. That you don't worry. Compiler will take care about it. Don't think that the JavaScript will convert the code in such a way that TypeScript tracking will be there. TypeScript tracking means how it translated, how it is converted. It will not show to you. It will show only output. That is the reason it is waste of time. That means it's just like you don't worry about what is in JavaScript. You just worry about your TypeScript. Because what TypeScript will do, compiler will translate everything understandable to browser and finally give the output to you. You will finally see the output. Don't try to compare the output generated in JavaScript. That means it's just like a doctor given a tablet for reducing your fever. You taken the tablet and fever cured. Now go to doctor and ask, explain me how it cured my fever. How the tablet worked in my blood. Explain me the process. He will kick you out, right? Or he will give one more injection for mental stability, right? Why? Because what you are talking about, how it is done inside, no need to explain you. It is waste of time for you. Why? Because, but there is a process inside, how it works. That is not required for you because compiler will take care about it. You just need an output. If you even try to check the result generated in JavaScript, it will not be clear because compiler internally translated everything and only output related code is given. It will not give everything what it has done. Due to that, even you see the JavaScript file, you can't understand. It looks like ordinary JavaScript. Then you will get a point like, why should I use TypeScript then? It is looking like ordinary JavaScript. That is the job of a translator. While translating, it will take care about your browser. It will check the compatibilities. It will do implicitly. Don't think that I can observe every concept in JavaScript file. You cannot observe every concept. JavaScript file contains only output related. What it has done, it will not show that. To make it strongly typed and all, it will not show anything there. Just only result will be there. So it is waste of time even to check that. In later stage also, so many things, if you go there and try, it will not show you, right? However, the point is you need to just concentrate on what you are writing in TypeScript. It will translate into JavaScript. Okay. Now, next important is after understanding array. This is an array type. What we given index.ts. How do we compile this? A small process I am giving. tsc what? Index.ts. After that node what? Index.js. Every program you can try that, right? Okay, now in the data types, in the non-primitive types, another important data type, we have an object type. Object type. So JavaScript non-primitive types means array, object, maps, and all these. Object is a collection of key and values. What is problem in JavaScript object? What is problem in JavaScript object? So many problems are there with JavaScript object. Actually, JavaScript object is schemaless, structureless. JavaScript object is completely structureless object. Data types, every problem will come. Structureless, it is completely. JavaScript object structureless means what? You created an object. So name, you stored 10. and you said age, you stored a, it will take. It doesn't object. What do you think? Is it invalid in JavaScript? It's not invalid. In a key, you can store anything. In a key, you can store anything. Then it is structureless. My key is telling about something, value is something else. JavaScript allows that. In JavaScript, there is no structured data. Object is completely structureless. Then how do you restrict an object to handle structured data? Name should be string only. Age must be number only. We can put that restriction here, right? Actually, JavaScript object is a schemaless. TypeScript object is a structured object. Is a structured object. TypeScript object is a structured object. It can set rules for configuring values in the reference of keys. It can set rules for configuring values in the reference of keys. So JavaScript object is completely schemaless, but TypeScript object is structured, schema based. Now actually, what is problem in JavaScript object is the data type problems are there. How do we manage that here is C. For example, I am creating LET product and the product is an object. When we define product as an object, the key name in that I can store a number. There is no problem. And so price, I can store some string. It will not object. It will take as it is. But now how we can put restriction for this? Object restriction is defined in this way. The data type colon, data type is an object type. Data type is an object type. And what are the keys you are expecting? The key is name and its data type is string. And another key is price. Its data type is number. Now it is strictly typed. Now it is strictly typed. That means now object must have the data exactly what is defined. That means now name is invalid because it is expecting what type? String. So I will put a string here, that is okay. Price is invalid because it is expecting a number. Now price is a number, that is fine. So earlier we don't have such restriction. In a JavaScript, in a key, you can store any type of value. But here in a key, you can store only the type that you have mentioned. Not only that, here another important is actually this is considered as a contract. That is considered as a contract. A contract contains rules. A contract comprises of rules. According to these rules only you have to design. In the rules, what are the keys mentioned? Name and price. But what you have done is you are trying to store a stock and it is a true. It will not allow. It will not allow. Why it will not allow? Because in the rules what are mentioned, only those are allowed. You cannot add anything extra. You cannot miss anything which is mentioned. You cannot add anything extra. We cannot miss anything which is mandatory. For example, suppose I am not mentioning price, then it shows error. Why it shows error? It says that according to contract, object must have name and price. If anyone is missing, it will not allow. That means you see it says that price is missing. That means you need to exactly define what is there, price, and we need to mention that. Now, another important point is that first, this rule you should know, right? That means we have to configure the rules. So rules are defined as an object. Defined as an object. So syntactically, what let obj, it is having a object type. Here we mention the rules, and equal to, we need to mention the data. According to the rules only, we have to define the data. And what is rules? Rules refer to key and value. Rules also refer to key and value. Data refer to key and value. Key and value. Data also refer to key and value. So syntactically, let obj, here we have to mention key and its data type is equal to, here we have to mention the key and the value. We have to mention the value with the same type. So how do you configure the keys and values is important. And remember, rules are considered as a contract, and you have to implement exactly the same that is defined in contract. So you cannot add new keys, or you cannot miss existing keys. You cannot add anything new, you cannot miss any existing. But what is the advantage here is, what is the specialty is, contract allows to configure optional keys by using null reference character, question mark. Question mark is a null reference character. This is very important. We have optional rules. Optional rules are defined by using null reference character question mark. And optional rules can be ignored. You don't need to mention them. Optional rules can be ignored. All rules that you defined are mandatory to implement. Optional rules can be ignored. You can ignore the optional rules. So contract allows to configure the optional rules. How we do that, I will tell you. For example, here we are having name and price, and you just saw if I miss anything, it is showing error. Okay, I mentioned the stock. It is a Boolean type. That means it is true or false. Now obviously product shows error. Why product shows error? Product shows error. Why product shows error? Because stock is missing. Stock is missing. So, but I don't have stock for this product. Later another product may have a stock. In that case, I can make this as nullable. Then it is okay. This is called optional rules. We call them null reference character. What this question mark indicates that the stock can be optional. You know question mark meaning. What is it? Zero or one occurrence. You know the meta character, na? Zero or one occurrence for question mark. So it allows to, you can, if you have the value, you can define. You don't have the value, you can skip. But if it is not optional, it is mandatory to define. And you can mention multiple optional, doesn't matter. It's not like optional is only for one. You can have many optional. That means now price is optional and stock is optional. But how we print the detail? For example, suppose you see, I will give here stock or anything. Suppose I given rating. Rating is a number type and rating is optional. Then I put a question mark. Then how to print the details? If rating is mentioned, we have to print rating. If rating is not mentioned, don't print rating. Then actually we use a simple logic. If product dot rating, what does it means? If it is defined. If it is defined, then print it. Console.log name is equal to product dot name. You know how to deal with an object. Object related other manipulations are same as in JavaScript. So next line, price is equal to product dot what price. In the next line, we have rating. Rating is equal to product dot what rating. And otherwise, if rating is not configured, then obviously you print the details without rating. Without rating, you print only name and price. That's how we do. That means if rating is not mentioned, it will not print rating. First, always transcompile. After transcompiling, run this. It is printing only name and TV. Suppose later I am adding some rating to this. Rating I am adding as some 4.2. Then again transcompile and again run that. Now rating is there. If rating is not mentioned, it will not print it. If rating is mentioned, it will print. You can assign rating later also, na? How? I am not mentioning it. It is going to print only this. I am later mentioning product dot rating is 4.35 something. Later I assigned a value into that and you can see here it is going to allow. Whenever you define it, automatically it will take and print it. These are optional. That means you can have optional keys. Optional keys are defined by using what? Question mark. Question mark refers null. That means you have to define let obj and it is a key question mark colon data type. You have to mention like this. And important, already you know in JavaScript object means it is not just only data, it contains function also. Object contains functions also. Object have functions. No? Object contains both data and logic. In JavaScript object, you can have a function also. Then rules are defined for functions also. Later, I will explain about functions. Functions, separate concept, and functions are different here now. Later, I will explain about function, but object can contain function also. If a function is there, you have to mention rule for function. For example, suppose I will give example here. First, I will copy this example. Okay. This is index.ts. Okay. Let's take an example of LET product, and I need to set rules for the product, and I need to put some data. What is the rule? Product should have a name, string type. It should have a price, number type. It should have a quantity, that is also number type. It should have a total. Total is a function which should return a number. The function should return a number. And it should have a print. That print should be void type. It will not return anything. So that means now we are having data as well as logic. And because all are not mentioned, anyone is not mentioned with question mark, all are mandatory. Now you have rules for data as well as logic also. That means now this object, product object must contain, it will contain name. It is a string type. It will contain price. It is a number type. It contains quantity. That is also number type. It contains total now. Total is a function. You know how to write a function. Huh? Total is a function. And what this function have to do? What this function have to do? Make sure that the function returns a number, because return type is number now. That means it must return a number. It cannot be void. It must return what type? Number. That means now how it returns a number? Return this dot quantity into this dot what? Price. Then it will return a number. Now still your product is missing with print. Right? Now can a method can be optional? Yes. You put a question mark, it is optional. Now suppose I am defining another. What is that? I am using print. Print is an optional function. And what it can do, it can print the details. You write like a function or anonymous, anything is okay. Console.log, it should print all the details. So name, this dot name, this dot name, this dot name is, yeah, this dot name. And what else? We need to mention price. What is the price? Price is equal to /n. Price is equal to what we have to do, this dot what? Price. And see, it is showing some error. Cannot contain an arrow function captures global value. That means it is saying that don't use arrow function because it is using a global value, right? Later in module system, it is okay, no problem. Module system means we discuss in the export will not, we export will make a global, without export it should be local. So here it is saying that because you are not using module, don't use an arrow, that function is fine, right? So later we can implement arrow. So in classes methods we can implement. Now in the next line, what it is, quantity is equal to this dot what? Quantity. And next one /n total. Total is equal to what? This dot total. Okay, these are enough. Huh? Print is the function which is printing all the detail. Now you configured the rules in this way. Now what we are doing, just access product dot what? Print. Product dot print is going to print all the details. Remember, don't worry about the error markings, because don't get to a conclusion that red mark means error. Actually, warnings also it will show like that. You have to move the mouse and read what it is saying. What is it is saying? Cannot invoke an object possibly undefined. That means it is saying that this is not an error, it is a warning. It is just saying that you can't invoke an object like this. It may have undefined values, but we know that they are all defined. They are not undefined, so no problem. So don't get to a conclusion that red mark coming means it is an error. That's just warning also it will show. In this situation, it is just a warning to tell that it may have undefined values also. Okay, but we don't have any undefined value. Just what you do, compile this. TSC, you will not get any error there, right? Just run that, it will run and it will show. That means we are configuring data rules for both data as well as logic, data and logic. So we can have rules not only for data, but also for function. Function rules we need to follow correctly, right? This is an object related concept. That means how you can define index.ts, how you can define an object, and how you configure the object. And remember, what is the point? All object manipulations are same as in JavaScript. As in JavaScript, you learned all JavaScript object manipulation. What you learned? How to remove all the keys, how to read all the keys of an object, how to remove any key from an object. You learn now. So how to know the data type of a key, right? These all object manipulations are same. How to find whether a key is present or not. All those concepts are same. That means how to read all the keys, how to read all the values, everything is same. Object manipulation, array manipulation is similar. Only the point, the way how you configure object is different. That means this time, now your object must contain rules. These rules are important. In that rules, optional rules also possible. We can configure optional rules using what? Question mark. So now you have two non-primitive types. One is array, another one object. Now we have array of objects. Means an array which can contain collection of objects and map type and other. That we'll see tomorrow. Right? In tomorrow's session, we will discuss about the other data types. Once we know data types, operators are same, statements are same. Statements means if, for, while, do while, all are same. Only functions are different. OOP concept is completely different. That means here you will have abstract classes, access modifiers, static, non-static members. OOP is strong here. So we will learn all the OOP concepts very detailedly, what TypeScript uses. That we will see in our next session. Tomorrow we will do that. Tomorrow we will have a regular session for TypeScript. We will continue with TypeScript. Because once you finish TypeScript, we can start using TypeScript with React. Okay, tomorrow we'll continue.